You look at your high turnover and tell yourself that this generation just doesn't want to work. You see a crew cutting corners on a job site and you wonder, why does nobody care about the quality of work like you do? But here's the uncomfortable truth. They don't care because they watched a foreman cut those exact same corners unchallenged for 2 seasons and you let it happen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, and wherever you happen to be right now. I'm Mike Voories, here to help you build a stronger team. Today, we're talking about the hardest thing for a business owner, manager, or leader to face. We're talking about the mirror. We hear it all the time from frustrated leaders. We need to fix our culture. They want better team morale. They want employees to show up on time. They want a sense of urgency, but they're looking in the wrong place. Before you ask what is wrong with your culture, you have to ask what your culture is reflecting back about your leadership. Because culture is not built, it's reflected. Let's tear down the most common excuse in the business world right now. When things get hard, when customer complaints increase, when good people walk out the door, the default reaction is often to blame the labor market, right? We blame this generation. We say that people just don't want to put in the effort anymore. Stop. The high turnover everyone blames on this generation is usually just a direct response to inconsistent management behavior. When an employee value proposition, or EVP, is unclear or misaligned, it shows up in very predictable ways. New hires leave early. It's that simple. The uncomfortable mirror moment happens when the owner who says, "I can't find good people," finally stops to ask a different question. What is it about how I operate that attracts or repels the people I want? And then this isn't about placing blame. This is about leverage, right? If the problem starts with you, the fix does too. You don't change your culture by hiring better. You change your culture by leading better, and that includes hiring better, which makes hiring become easier. Employees join teams. Employees stay because of teams. Employees leave because of teams. Retention issues are rarely fixed with pay raises, perks, or new benefits. What actually drives retention is clear expectations. It's driven by consistent leadership. If your leadership is erratic, your culture will be chaotic. If the owner shows up late, disappears during peak season stress, or plays favorites, those behaviors multiply through every single layer of the organization. I think that culture is defined by what you tolerate. We need to get real about what culture actually is. Culture is not a set of values on the wall. It's how people treat each other under pressure, how mistakes are handled, and whether accountability exists. Companies love to print out posters that say they value accountability, teamwork, communication, excellence, and integrity. But your employees don't judge your culture by the words you use. They judge it by what actually happens in the office, in the shop, and out in the field. Leaders create culture through standards, not speeches. A leader can talk about high standards all day long, but the real standard in your business is the lowest level of performance or behavior you continue to accept. Your culture is not defined by what you expect, it's defined by what you tolerate, right? If poor performance is tolerated, that becomes the culture. If drama is ignored, that becomes the culture. If managers avoid having hard conversations with underperforming staff, avoidance becomes the culture. And the most painful one of all, if your top performers are forced to carry the weight while low performers coast by, doing the bare minimum, resentment becomes your culture. People are not stupid. They notice the gap between what you say and what you do. If you want to know what your culture really is, look at who gets ahead in your company. Employees learn what actually matters by watching who gets promoted, praised, protected, and paid. Every promotion, every raise, every exception, and every excuse sends a massive cultural message to your entire team. Think about the operational reality of this. Does your company promote the best leader, or do you just promote the longest tenured employee because it's the path of least resistance? Do you reward the person who lives your core values, or do you reward the person who hits their numbers while leaving a massive trail of wreckage behind them? So let's look for a minute at a specific green industry application. Imagine a landscape maintenance crew that consistently cuts corners on a property. They leave grass clippings on the walkways and rush through the final details. You can get mad at the crew members, but look deeper. Did that behavior start with them, or did they watch their crew leader do it unchallenged for the last 2 seasons? If a foreman skips morning safety checks because he's in a rush and leadership never calls him out on it, the crew learns that safety is optional. What if you have a top producer? Maybe it's an incredibly fast crew leader or a salesperson who brings in massive revenue, but this person is toxic. They treat people poorly, they talk down to the crews, and they refuse to follow standard operating procedures. What do? If you protect the high producer who treats people poorly, you're telling the rest of your company that your core values are a joke. You're choosing short-term revenue over long-term stability. The great people on your team will see that you value production over respect, and they'll leave. You cannot detach culture from leadership decisions. So how do we fix your culture starting today? First, stop trying to improve culture without improving your leadership. You don't need to make culture sound fluffy. Bring it down to practical leadership behavior. Culture is created by the decisions leaders make every day. Better culture usually starts with leaders doing simple things more consistently. So here's your tactical execution playbook. Start by doing these things today. Clarify expectations immediately. Your team cannot hit targets they can't see. Address problems sooner. Don't wait for the annual review to tell someone they're failing. Give direct, honest feedback in the moment. Recognize the right behaviors. What you reward gets repeated. Remove the people who damage the team. You have to fire the poison. It's uncomfortable, but the moment you remove a toxic element, the rest of the team breathes a sigh of relief. Train managers how to actually manage. Follow through on what you say. If you make a promise, keep it. If you set a rule, enforce it. The leadership behaviors that shape culture are simple. It's what you reward, right? What you tolerate, and how you respond under pressure. The owner sets the emotional temperature for everyone. If leadership says communication matters, but doesn't communicate clearly, the culture suffers. If leadership says people matter, but they treat their employees like replaceable labor, the culture suffers. If leadership says accountability matters, but only applies in certain situations or maybe to certain people, you guessed it, the culture suffers. You gotta walk the walk. At BR1, our entire philosophy is built on this foundation. No organization can grow faster than its ability to recruit and retain enough of the right people. Recruiting and retention issues are almost always leadership and culture issues. At BR1, we see this play out every day. The organizations that attract and retain strong people, they're not the ones with the flashiest job ads. They're the ones whose internal reality matches the story being told. The companies that win the talent, they're not the loudest. They're the most aligned. If your internal reality is broken, your hiring results will be broken. We don't believe the narrative that people just don't want to work. We believe that top-tier talent wants to work for premier, sought-after employers who provide strong, consistent, and accountable leadership. If you want to fix your recruiting problem, you have to fix your retention problem. And if you want to fix your retention problem, you have to fix your leadership. If your company is struggling to attract the right people, or if you feel like you're constantly turning over staff because your culture has gotten away from you, you don't have to figure this out alone. BR1 helps business leaders step up, align their reality with their messaging, and build teams that actually drive results. We specialize in the recruiting and retention strategies that turn average workplaces into destination employers. Reach out to BR1. Let's take a hard look in the mirror together. Fix the root causes that get your business growing the right way. And until next time, keep building your stronger team.